Amy from the Energy Boutique with your Energy and Ascension forecast for Sunday, March 20th to Saturday, March 26th. So last week we wrapped up the final leg of this marathon of Pisces season of this old calendar, and Lord Jesus, didn't we have a hard time. I am going to share a little bit of my own personal experience here in a minute, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what kind of weight we were all under. But we definitely had to go through that darkness. We were definitely challenged by the dark force energies that we spoke about in last week's forecast. That was meant to come out, that was meant to really paralyze us, that was meant to really make it a very difficult week for each and every single one of us. Of course, we were going through a death, and that death, that ending, that closure manifested in so many different ways. And it took place at a divinely scripted time because, of course, we just had the full moon in Virgo, the very last full moon of the old calendar. That Virgo energy, very healing, very cleansing, very transformative. It's time for us to get back down to earth. It's time for us to start using our bodies to take action, to make things happen, and to start digging us out of what has been a very dark hole. Last week, we had a lot of solar activity, a lot of CMEs, a lot of solar winds that came in, putting that Schumann Resonance on blast. We even had the blackout, which always indicates a dramatic shift in the energies, whether it is man-made, the data and the statistics being held from us, or whether it was potent enough to knock all the measurements off. Regardless, bottom line, there was a lot of energies coming in, helping to cleanse us from the old, helping to charge us up, to raise our vibrations and frequencies, to overwrite that negative force agenda programming. So what do we got going on this week? Well, first of all, I want to thank you for tuning in. I know that many of you are used to joining me Friday nights, but here's the thing. First of all, I've had a couple events take place this week that I will talk about here in a second that just made me unable to do this Friday evening. Also, I've had a lot of people reach out, a lot of people that live on the opposite side of the world that never ever get to join my lives, that really expressed a want, need, and desire to be able to take part, to join this community in a live chat. And because of that, I was really thinking over the last couple of weeks that it's time that I stop being so rigid, I stop being attached to a very specific calendar, and that I at least switch things up every now and then to really appeal to a bigger, broader audience. It is only fair that we share the time, we share the space with each other all around the world. It's very important for us light workers to stick together. So hopefully in this session, we will see some new faces, some new energies appear, and of course, give ourselves an opportunity to connect with like-minded people. So this week, we have a brand new calendar unfolding, thank goodness. As we speak, we are on the very last day of the old calendar, the last day of Pisces season, the last degrees of Pisces season, which will likely pressurize us in a lot of ways. We do tend to feel that extreme intensity when we are wrapping up one season. And because this is compounded with not only a season shift, but a calendar shift, we are likely feeling the pressure. The equinox ushers in Aries season tomorrow afternoon. This is going to be the first time that we actually have fire brought down from the cosmos, giving us the fire back, the flame back, the spark back, the life force back. This fire energy is action, it's passion, it's desire. Many of us absolutely need this energy in order to revive ourselves. It has been quite the freaking struggle. We are definitely going to see a shift in ourselves, in our circumstances, in our environment. And of course, we are given a very short window of opportunity with this fire energy to take huge leaps, huge strides, huge actions while all the planets continue to be direct. We are going to be building towards the last quarter moon in Capricorn, which will probably be the lowest point of the week. So you can mark your calendar for Friday. That will probably be a little bit of a Debbie Downer, a negative Nancy type of time. But here's the thing. The last quarter is always giving us the opportunity to shed the attachments that we somehow thought we had already shed and cleansed from our spirit, from our soul. And now, being in a fire season, you best believe that we have the cosmic support to burn those connections off, to release them, to cleanse them, to leave them in the past where they belong. This is also the last week of Mercury being in Pisces. Thank freaking goodness. Now, that being said, Mercury, when moving into Aries energy, is going to bring a whole set of new advantages and new disadvantages. But this Mercury in Pisces energy is not good for clarity. It's not good for rationalization, for logical and practical planning. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of action to take. We have a lot of details and decisions that really need to be reviewed and committed to. And we are not likely going to make very informed decisions while Mercury is still in Pisces. So I'm definitely looking forward to wrapping that energy up as well. So before I jump into the Ascension symptoms, I do want to talk a little bit about a couple of things. First of all, many of you, again, I want to thank you for your love and support, for your ongoing, continued shout-outs of love and support, especially for my healing process. I know many of you probably noticed over this past week that I wasn't as consistent as I normally was. I wasn't as fast replying. Many of you have sent me messages in my DMs, emails, short little video clips, questions. I got to be honest, I'm overwhelmed, not only because we're in Pisces season, not only because, this community is building at a rate that I really wasn't ever really planning on. I will be honest in saying that I've been kind of wearing myself thin. And I've known this, I've seen this happening for a while now. And of course, many of you that have been with me for a long time know that this year has not been easy on me. I've had nothing but death and loss and trauma and situations, the dental situation where I'm still kind of healing from, where there's been some complications from. And just as I thought I was kind of, making it and finding a good place, last Sunday, I received some horrible freaking news that actually has made the news worldwide. Of a very, very close friend of mine who got lost at sea. And it actually turned into him losing his life after he was in very stormy, freezing waters for over 5 hours. Now, when I say close friend, I mean that this was the brother of one of my exes, my longest relationship, who I have been very close, very, very intertwined with for the last 20 plus years. So as if this situation hasn't rattled the community that really still hasn't healed from my friend that passed away at the beginning of the year. They're all in the same circle. They're all in the same kind of clique. We didn't even get over that first. And here we have another tragedy, and it is super freaking painful and super devastating and definitely put me into a spiral. Now, I did know coming into this week that the darker force energies were going to do whatever it is that they could to keep us down, to prevent us from leveling up and enlightening ourselves. And when this tragedy struck, I knew in my heart and soul that this was their attempt for me to throw away everything that I've built here. And I want to talk about that for a second. It might surprise you to know that I do what I do, not because I love it, because I don't, not because I want to, because I don't, but because it's written in my soul contract. That's why they brought me back to life. So I have an obligation to a certain extent to be doing readings, to be doing these forecasts, to try to help the collective raise their vibration and frequency. If it was up to me, I would shut down this channel. I would delete my website. I would never do another reading, another healing session, another post. I have no want, need, or desire to be heard or to be seen or to even be a content creator. I'm actually semi-jealous a lot of the times watching all these people put themselves out there with the want, need, and desire to build these huge communities and to share their thoughts and to teach other people, their mystical teachings, like, people on TikTok and people here on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, like they're so willing to put themselves out there. They crave that attention. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be a household name. And to be perfectly honest with you, and this is coming from the most humble place that I could ever speak from, if I just was able to shut it all down, to live a normal life, to just kind of disappear into the darkness, I would 100% choose that for myself. And you may be saying, well, why don't you do that? Again, I have a soul contract, an obligation, a karmic obligation to do what it is that I'm doing. I actually, over the last 12 years, have tested what it would be like if I just stopped doing this, stopped helping people, stopped trying to inform and raise the vibration and frequency of the collective. And let me tell you, I was put in some very awful situations in this physical realm in order for me to see what going against my soul contract, my karmic obligation would actually look like. And I was, quote unquote, pushed back into this healing realm. When you're kind of gifted with a second opportunity at life and you're sent back with knowledge and experience and skills and talents and gifts and abilities, apparently you have to use them. And I struggle all the time because, to be honest with you, and I'm sure this is no personal attack, but as you may notice, people are batshit crazy out there. And especially in this spiritual community, you definitely bring out the crazies. Now, that's not to say that I haven't met some beautiful people, that I haven't built some beautiful friendships, some beautiful connections, that I don't love the love and support that you all show me each and every day, because I 100% do. But like I said, at the end of the day, I am not a people person. I am a very private person. I would love to just escape from this realm for nobody to ever even speak my name again. I would be perfectly happy, but that's not what's in the cards for me. So that's why I continue to show up. But this week, especially after the death of my friend, after the tragedy that has taken place and keep in mind that I channel spirits. So I was with him receiving information in his state of unconsciousness before he passed, and then received a whole freaking lot more of information from him after he decided to disconnect from his body. So when a death happens in my life, it isn't as cut and dry as a death that would happen in somebody else's life, because I get to channel that spirit. I get haunted. I say haunted, even though they don't mean to haunt me, but I don't sleep because there they are. I can't function in my day-to-day life because I'm overwhelmed, not only with the information that they have for me, but with the collective pain of the community, of my friends, of my family that are mourning that loss as well. It is awful. And if I could just be a normal person and mourn people in a normal way and deal with death in a normal way, I 100% would choose to do that. Okay? Because it's very overwhelming. It's very debilitating for me to have to deal with the aftermath of the afterlife. And it's not something I can shut off. It's not something that I am comfortable with. It is a very difficult thing to experience. And because of that, I was late posting my normal posts. I was late posting my weekly insights. I was late posting my forecasts. And I'm not chunking you all into a group because it's just a couple of bad apples that ruin it for the bunch. Most people are very loving, very supporting. Many of you have been connected to me for so long that you know that when my schedule is off, when it takes me longer to reply, when I'm not opening messages, that there's usually something wrong. And I appreciate that. But the amount of people that have zero respect, zero regard for other people, Like, let me tell you, the amount of messages that I received, and not nice messages, may I just state, the amount of messages that I received after I didn't post my weekly insights on time was appalling, okay? It was absolutely appalling to me. Now, here's the thing. I put out a lot of content. Most of it is for free. I spend a lot of time, a lot of energy putting content out there. This content isn't to get me likes, isn't to get me subscribers. I don't care about any of that. It's literally in my soul contract. I'm obligated to do this because I am here to help other people. This stuff benefits you guys more than it benefits me. I do not get paid to do this. This is literally my own time, my own energy that I put into this. And again, many of you, the majority of you, are super, super appreciative, super loving, super supportive. So I'm not going to say that, I'm going to throw it away all because I had a small group of ungrateful, unappreciative people. But I was appalled at the fact, and I know it can't be just me, but y'all have to understand that there is a person behind these accounts. And I watch it with other healers. I watch it with other content creators. There is an audacity to the community that the community has that just almost feels like they are entitled way more than they should be to this person's time, energy, attention, and focus. And I feel bad about that. But on the same token, when I watch it happen to other people, I'm like, well, you put yourself out there. I guess you got to deal with the good and the bad. And to be on the receiving end of it, my emails are filled with emails from people that aren't even paying clients, that literally write me chapter books because they're so consumed with their own experience that they want me to validate their experience for them. That's not what I'm here for. I love opening emails and saying, hey, thank you so much for what you do. You validated for me. You helped me through a tough time. I love those emails. I will always take the time to try and reply to those kinds of emails. But I am overwhelmed with the emails of rudeness, of ignorance, of where are the posts at? Why are the posts late? Where are the daily vibes? What's going on today? Where's the forecast at? Like, my goodness, it is overwhelming. And that has been the bulk of what my week has been, on top of the pain and the suffering that I am dealing with in my own individual life. And it has literally pushed me to a point where I contemplated deleting it all. But in that moment, I remind myself that this is what the dark force agenda wants. They want to take me out. They want to shut me up. They want me to be so overwhelmed with my back against a wall that I choose for myself to walk away from my soul contract, from my karmic obligation. That's what they want. Because if you remove me, then we're not a community anymore. We're not vibrating and we're not evolving. And yes, I don't think I'm so freaking super special to say that if I remove myself that y'all wouldn't find somebody else to vibe with and like-minded community to join. I'm not that narcissistic or arrogant to believe that, but I've built some very, very powerful connections with a lot of you. And I would be saddened to disappoint you all in that way. And speaking about disappointment, I did actually cancel one of my services this week, and I disappointed a whole bunch of people by canceling that service on them because they become so reliant on the readings, on the guidance that they've been getting every 2 weeks that have helped them find their power, find their strength, that have helped them stay in alignment, to really expose to themselves their mission, their purpose, to deal with the trauma, to heal those wounds. And that broke my heart to be able to do that. But at the end of the day, I have recognized in my own life where it is that I've been being of service far too much to other people and not being of service to myself. And that's exactly what the full moon in Virgo that we just had, that we're still under the influence of, that is exactly what that full moon in Virgo was all about. Recognizing where new boundaries need to be made in order to show up for ourselves first instead of showing up for other people. recognizing where it is that we had to reorganize, restructure our daily lives, our routines, our habits. Why? Because our health and wellness is super important. Both our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, and of course, balance with the sun in Pisces, our spiritual health. The Virgo and Piscean energy is about healing. It is about being your own inner healer. And what I've recognized is that I have willingly enabled people to not trust themselves, to not strengthen their intuition, to not sit with their own energy, to not walk themselves through the pain and suffering, the trauma work. By constantly offering my services and being there for people to offer support, to offer guidance, to offer them knowledge, to channel the messages from their energy guides, I'm essentially robbing people of the opportunity to strengthen their own frequency and vibration on the independent healing soul journey that we are all meant to be pursuing. I'm robbing you of that. Now, does that mean that I'm going to, cut off all my services? Well, I wish. If it was up to me, I wish. I am in the process of revamping, reorganizing, restructuring the services that I feel comfortable in offering so that I'm not creating a dependency on looking to me, to your guides, to the universe for the answers that you all have within you. We're at a very important time in the development of the ascension process, of the collective ascension process, of Mother Earth raising her vibration, reaching the frequency needed in order to be able to stabilize and protect ourselves when the great solar flash actually decides to hit this earth. We've been reaching a very pivotal point in our spiritual development where we should be pulling back from relying on people. We should be pulling back from looking outside of ourselves for validation, looking outside of ourselves for information, for indication on what it is that we know to be true within us. We should be at the point where we are self-reliant on our own intuition, on our own connection with the universe, with the cosmos, with our guides. That's where we should be at. I have had very, very little help, very little assistance, very little guidance in my own path, in my own journey. This is all self-made, self-realized, self-perfected in a lot of ways. And sometimes it frustrates me because most of the people out there are not willing to help themselves. Most of the people out there are not willing to do the work. Most of the people out there are not willing to even sit with themselves to figure out what it is that they want, need, and desire. They look for help. And I know you might be saying, wow, you're really ruining your business structure here. My whole business is based off of helping people and guiding people and providing them with, moon guides to align with the energies, to do the shadow work, to do the trauma work, the courses in order to educate yourself. And yet here I sit saying that y'all should be trusting yourselves. Y'all shouldn't be booking sessions with me. Y'all should just understand that you have all the answers, all the guidance that you need within yourselves. I get it. So I know I'm a hypocrite. I know that I'm really putting a fork into my own services here. I know that I'm going to continue to offer my services because some people aren't at the stage in their spiritual development and their spiritual journey where they are okay to walk this path alone, to trust themselves. But right now, especially with all the things that have been thrown at me in my own personal life. Now, I've been very, very open and transparent, more than I ever have in my life with you guys, especially since the beginning of the year and all the loss that I've had to deal with, all the trauma that I've had to deal with thus far. And it's only 3 months into this year. There's a lot of things that I'm never going to share. There's a lot of things that I will never, ever allude to. It is very hard to be in this position. And let me tell you that when you look to people, quote unquote, as a healer, which I hate labels, I would never label myself as that. But when you look to these people for wisdom and guidance, please know that they had to walk through hell alone. Please know that the only reason why they have the wisdom and a guidance in order to even offer and assist you with is because they've had to go to the depths of hell and back again by themselves and learn the hard way in order to have the wisdom and experience to share with other people. And if you are someone that is not just with me, but with other people that are putting themselves out there in a spiritual sense, as a helper, as a healer, sharing their wisdom, sharing their experience, if you are someone that is constantly sending emails and asking personal questions and looking for validation and, clips here and what do you think about this and, chapter books of emails describing your own experiences that only get to benefit you, please stop, okay? There is a person suffering in their own spiritual journey that has to answer all of those emails, all of those DMs. And if for any reason you see a disruption in someone who is normally posting educational things, forecasts, or whatever, and suddenly they slip off of that routine, please do not send them rude-ass emails or rude-ass DMs, okay? Please be open-minded and understand that there is an individual behind that screen going through something that they can't share with you right now. That's why I had to share this with you now, because I'm overwhelmed. And I am getting to a point where I'm realizing all that I'm doing for free, all that I'm doing on my own energy, and let me tell you, my energy is far more valuable than money ever will be, to go ahead and pour yourself out there day after day, and then have to deal with the ugliness of some of the people that feel entitled to just jump on whatever platform they're on and receive the wisdom and guidance that you so willingly put out there for free, and then have the audacity to be rude and send an email because it's not there when they want it to be there. If you are one of those people, you really need to take a good look at yourself and understand that you have far more work to do within yourself than you think, okay? We are at a point in this spiritual process where we need to have love and compassion and empathy for one another. And if you're coming from that lower vibration frequency, you're not meant to ascend. You're not meant to wake up. You're not meant to be part of this community. Now, I try to open my door, open my heart, open my head, open my mind, open my soul to every single person that crosses my path, because I believe in soul contracts, and I believe that we all agreed to cross each other's path at this particular point in time because we are all here to learn something from one another. But I have had my boundaries tested, and for good reason. We all have. This is what Pisces season was all about, because of course Pisces season doesn't have boundaries. We get overwhelmed, oversensitive. We don't know where other people's energy ends and ours begin. And for good reason, we need to be crashed upon with the waves of Pisces season to break us down, to beat us down, in order for us to realize where there needs to be a brand new structure built where boundaries are essential in order to protect our mind, our body, our soul. That's what the full moon in Virgo was all about. And let me tell you, I have learned the lesson yet again the hard way, that I have to be a little bit more firm with my boundaries. So I will apologize to you right out of the gate that I might not be able to reply to you. I might not be able to, have the conversation that you're looking to have, especially if you're not on my client list. Like, I have to reserve my power, my energy, my time, my attention for those that are literally paying me to be there for them. If I go ahead and I disperse all my energy and attention to everyone, whether they are, paying me in a professional sense or not, and then not having the energy, time, and attention left for those that are actually paying me, what a disrespectful energy exchange that would be on my part. So I'm going to have to get very firm, which absolutely breaks my heart, because I'm someone who always believes that whether you're paying or not, that you deserve that connection, that you deserve that time, that you deserve that energy. But if I were, let me just say, if I were to show you, to share with you what my inboxes look like, it's some of the foolishness that gets sent to me, you would be like, oh my goodness, I would just stop. I would stop dealing with people altogether, because I'm telling you, the weirdos come out to play. Again, not chunking everybody into that, because there are some beautiful people out there. I am grateful for every single one of you. But let me tell you, I can no longer play in other people's circuses. Okay? So I'm going to have to be very, very selective, picky and choosy with where it is that I am willing to extend my energy, love, and attention outward, because I have been beat down, broke down, absolutely just punished in some ways with trying to share my energy with everyone. It can't happen. And unfortunately, I've learned the hard way. So I want to thank you for listening to that rant. I feel like it was absolutely necessary for me to say it. I hope that, it was received in the way that I intended for it to be received. There's love. I have love for everyone, but the energy and attention that I physically have in my body is very, very low and minimal at this point. And this should be a lesson for all of us to start being super selective with who we share our time, energy, love, and attention with, and how we share our energy out into the world. It is time to refine. It is time to align. And there's no better time for this little pep talk than being on the last day of Pisces season, on the last day of the old calendar, because we're about to bust into something new where we get reset here tomorrow. And we have to be very clear with our intentions on how it is that we are going to exert our life force energy moving forward. That is what Aries season is all about. That is the best way to start off a brand new calendar. That is what each of us needs to sit down and think very clearly about here tonight before we wrap up this old energy, on what it is that we need to reorganize and restructure in our lives to put ourselves first, to protect ourselves first and foremost. And if that means implementing boundaries that, do make you feel bad and will disappoint other people, then unfortunately, we have to say, so be it. It is very important that you protect your energy. And it is also very important that you respect other people, knowing that they are doing what is best for their energy as well. Whew, okay, thank you for holding the space for me to do that. Wow, does that feel better? Okay, let's jump into some Ascension symptoms. Now, let me just say, we have to understand that we haven't had fire in the cosmos for a very long time. Fire is life force energy. It is a renewal in faith, a renewal in spirit. It is initiating. It is taking action. It is aggressing oneself to go after what it is that we want, need, and desire. Okay? Fire energy, though, as you can imagine, just like with, a campfire, if you do not nurture it, if you do not continue to fuel it, feed it at a regular basis, it will burn itself out. That's classic Aries energy. My Arian friends are out there and they're saying, oh my God, I've never completed a task, a project, a mission in my life, because you get all so excited. You go in gung-ho, balls to the walls, and then you burn yourself out halfway. We never see the ending. We never see the finish line. Reminder, we are in the year of 2022. This is a year of building. This is a year of Earth. Earth and building needs to have logical, practical, strategic, calculated plans. We can't go into anything willy-nilly, and that is one of the downsides of Arian energy, is that Aries energy would like to act first and think about the consequences later, which typically leads to some hardships, leads to some drama, leads to a mess that many of us do not want to clean up. We have to understand that Aries energy rules over the head, rules over the teeth, over the jaw. It also rules over accidents. Why? Because we're not thinking straight. We got ants in our pants. We have more energy than we ever even thought we could ever have again. This can rule blood pressure, which will likely be spiking. Why? Because we're passionate. We have a lot of desires. We're finally being supported to go ahead and take action. Many of us are not going to feel like we've been this alive for a long time, and we are going to just kind of do things to the extreme. This could lead to headaches, This could lead to raising blood pressure. This can lead to heart irregularities. That's that Mercury and Pisces energy just messing with us being able to speak properly. My bad. And it's also going to kind of suggest that our anxiety, restlessness, anticipation is really going to take over. Many of us are not going to be able to sit, and that's a good thing. We've been sitting for long enough. Many of us have been trying to tread water, keep our heads above water from drowning. And many of us are going to be very happy to hit land. And, we've been thinking about all the things that we want to do once we get back on land. And now we're on land and now we want to do them all. And again, energy management. Please do not burn yourself out. But there's going to be a buzzing. There's going to be a buzzing in our nervous systems. There's going to be a buzzing in our ears. There's going to be a buzzing in our blood. Our blood is running hot. We are boiling on the inside. It's almost as if we were freezing to death in that ocean. And many of you are saying, oh my God, you have a friend who just got lost at sea and who literally passed away after being lost at sea for 5 hours in the cold ocean. Yes, I understand. I get it. The parallels are absolutely frightening. They're absolutely disgusting. I have not even been aware of how many puns that are related to boats, to ships, to sea, to drowning. This is Pisces season. It's all about drowning. Trust me, I see the parallels. Trust me, it creeps me to my core when I hear the words leave my mouth, but I don't know how else other to say it. It is very much mimicking the seasons. That whole situation is definitely mimicking the season that we're in, and it creeps me to my core. But just so you know, I 100% know what I'm saying. I 100% know how creepy it is, but I'm going to continue forward. Their urgency for us to figure everything out, for us to do everything now, for us to just, take action is going to lead to that restlessness and anxiety. Anticipation isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're excited. We haven't been this excited. We haven't felt this renewed. We haven't felt this life force. We haven't felt this, physical energy in a long time, but it can go from 0 to 60 in less than 60 seconds. And it can lead to a surge of energy in our physical bodies that our physical bodies aren't acclimated to. This, again, can lead to the headaches, can lead to the blood pressure, the heart palpitations, the jaw issues, because we hold our energy in our jaw. Many of us don't even realize that we clench our jaw, we clench our teeth because we don't know what to do with ourselves. And because we have more physical energy moving into Aries season than we've had in a very long time, we just want to do something when we want to act. And if you're put in a position where you can't act, where you can't move forward, where you can't, see the kind of steps being taken that you were hoping for, that can also lead to anger and frustration. I always say that there is a very thin line between passion and anger, a very, very thin line. And Aries energy, because it's the very first sign of the zodiac, we typically call it the toddler energy of the zodiac. We can throw tantrums and be over it in 2 seconds. We have to watch our temperament. We have to watch our mood. Again, there's a lot of just warrior energy coming out. Mars rules over Aries, and Mars being in Aquarius right now is kind of off the wall, kind of unpredictable. We get these flashes of insight, these ideas. We want to take action on them. We go balls to the walls. We burn ourselves out. We get angry about it. And it's a whole cycle. It's a whole thing. And I often say that, I think of Braveheart, you know that scene in Braveheart where they all start screaming and charging forward on the battlefield? That's kind of the energy and the vibe that we're moving into. I often call that library syndrome because, just when you're in a library and you're told to be quiet, that's the time that you normally want to scream. And we're definitely going to be feeling that. There is a huge want, need, and desire to be taking those deep breaths in. Again, in Pisces season, there was a lot of pressure on our chest. There was a lot of weight on our chest. We found it hard to breathe. We were coughing up phlegm in order to cleanse our lungs. And now we feel the need to deep breathe. We almost aren't getting satisfied with the breaths in which we're taking. Again, we have to regulate our breath. We have to regulate our energy. We have to regulate ourselves. because we want to avoid burnout. We have a lot of beautiful aspects coming to us throughout Aries season, but if we just go willy-nilly, acting first without a plan, exerting all this physical energy without, a structure and a goal and an intention on what it is that we actually want to do, we are going to burn ourselves out and we're going to be hella disappointed in ourselves. That we, didn't complete yet another project, yet another chapter. So, we are moving into a lighter mood. Lord Jesus knows we need it. We have to go back to the end of November, because once we move into Sag season, that's when we move into the end of the astrological wheel. That is when karma takes over. That's when we're kind of at the mercy of karmic circumstances and karmic events. We don't feel like we're in control. Sag season was the last time that we had fire energy. So that's November. So we've really been waiting for this moment for a very long time. And the equinox energy is like, it's a reset button. It balances the scales within us. It balances the scales between karma and free will. It balances scales between having to sit back and go with the flow and having to exert ourselves to take action and really kind of initiate a brand new direction. So we got that working for us. But let me just say, our mental plane is still kind of foggy. Mercury rules over the mental plane. He's still in Piscean energy. We're still kind of focused on dreams. We're focused on ideas. We're focused on inspiration. Not a bad thing, but we have to understand that in Aries season, we want to act on every freaking idea, and we can't act on every idea. And when Mercury actually moves into Aries on the 27th, we are going to be so headstrong, so stubborn, so fixated just on moving forward, just on pursuing new ideas and experimenting and taking the leadership role and communicating very bluntly, that it's almost going to be like it's too much fire, right? So this is all about finding balance. We want to make sure that we have a good grip on our mental plane, that we're regulating our thoughts and our actions, that we are, trying to balance ourselves and ground ourselves out, because we don't want to burn ourselves out. We actually want to see new things manifest. We want to see productivity. We want to see end goals actually come into fruition. And we're definitely passionate. We're definitely realizing a new life force. We're definitely feeling those new desires creep up. And side note, sexual desires are going to creep up as well. We're a lot more careless and fancy free because we finally feel like we're alive again. So we might just experiment with partners that we actually don't have any business experimenting with. And we have to keep in mind that both Venus and Mars, the masculine and feminine energies, are both an Aquarius energy that wants to experiment, that wants freedom, that wants independence. And Venus is now pulling away from Mars. So the feminine divine energy, she wants what she wants. If she's going to have a gut reaction or a gut connection with someone, she's going to experiment with that. That's not a bad thing, but we have to regulate and balance that out as well. We don't want to just, spread ourselves too thin in all kinds of ways. This is a clean slate, and a clean slate can be very exciting, but can also be very scary. And especially if you don't really have an idea of, what it is that you want to create, it can be very overwhelming because we know that we've been praying for change, but we don't know what change is actually coming to us. And that can be a little bit frightening for some of us. Regardless, this is going to change the way A, that we've been thinking, B, that we've been feeling, C, the way that we're actually going to take action in our lives, but it's also going to change the way that you see yourself. Aries energy is about the ego, the identity, the avatar that we are here in this physical realm. And I want you to pay attention to the physical changes that you're actually seeing in your body. Not only are you going to look in the mirror and be like, I don't look the same. Something's changing. My face is changing. Let's hope for the better. But there could be, elements and imperfections that you're noticing for the first time that doesn't make you as happy to look at yourself. This is also going to change the way that others see you, and in turn, the way that you see other people. This is very eye-opening. This is another level of awakening. This is another shift in perspective to see what it is that we are attached to, our physical features. Do we identify with the way that we look? Do we want to associate with the people in our lives? Do we want to be attached to that? The loss that we've just had, loss on top of loss on top of loss, has had a huge dent on who it is that we now think that we are. If you've lost a relationship, or you were in a relationship for a long time and you get out of it, you don't know who you are without that other person. It takes a while to reestablish your own energy, to figure out what it is that you actually like, or whether you only liked it because the other person liked it. And if you lost a job or you're changing jobs, it takes a while to recognize, oh my goodness, a major part of my identity was wrapped up in that job title, or wrapped up in that task, in that role, in that responsibility. Many of us have made some major changes in our lives, whether we've chosen to make those changes or those circumstances were karmically put upon us. Either way, we are having to take a good look at our identity and what that means for us. Change is not easy. Adjustment is not easy. Now, the one thing that we have going for us is that Aries season is a beautiful energy because we're not so caught up in the olds. We really don't care. We're trying to, it's almost semi-delusional, but we're trying to just put the blinders on and say, no. I was stuck in that situation for far longer than I should have been. I've been stuck in that rut for far longer than I should have been. I'm not looking back anymore. I'm only looking forward. And that's a great attitude to have. But again, sometimes when we only look forward, we put those blinders on, we can create a little bit of a disconnect, a detachment, and delusion that we are going to eventually have to go back and grieve, have to go back and heal, have to go back and do that trauma work. It would be great to say that if you could stay conscious and in an awareness as you're making these changes, and as you're consciously saying, okay, like I can't really think about the past right now because if I do, this is going to prevent me from taking this action and making this move. So I'm not going to think about the past right now, but I'm going to come back to it once I make this move and kind of reconcile my thoughts and feelings over it. If we can stay in that observer type of mentality, we're not going to create damage as we're moving forward. Whereas if you just kind of delude yourself like, oh shit, that never happened, I'm not thinking about it. Nope, not thinking about it. Those memories aren't coming up. I have no clue what you're talking about. You are going to create a disconnect and a disalignment within your energy that you will have to correct later on. Paying attention to your physical form, I want you to pay attention to the changes that are taking place to your hands, specifically the changes in your nails. Maybe they're becoming more brittle. Maybe, the beds are changing. Maybe there's, dents in it. Maybe Again, I want you to be careful because silly accidents can happen in Aries season. Maybe you're finding cuts on your hands. Maybe, you're spraining your finger. We have to be very careful with our hands. Again, we talked about this a couple of months ago when our hand chakras were being activated, but we have our hands are how we take energy in and how we exert energy out. Our hands are magic. It's how we direct energy. It's how we take action. And so a lot of the times when we're in a very powerful time of bringing things to life and being able to take action and really kind of grip in and take control of our lives, bad things happen to our hands. And if you're paying attention to your hands, then maybe we can prevent some of those not so nice changes from happening. But you definitely want to make sure that you're massaging your hands, that you are being kind to your hands, wear gloves when you can. We have to protect our hand chakras as we move through this brand new energy cycle, because again, fire energy, we can get burned, and we want to make sure that we're not getting burned because we have a lot of powerful energy to take control over as we move into this brand new year. We are going to be oversensitive to light. Okay. It's been a long time since we've seen this amount of light. And, coming out of winter or coming out of our dark season, coming out of the dark hole that we've been in, coming up from the underworld that we've been sitting in, the light is very bright up here. We're definitely oversensitive to that. Pisces season has jacked up our psyche, our emotional state, our sensory system, and our psychic abilities, our healing abilities. We are jacked up and we're not used to them. We have to reestablish balance and grounding in this new identity. Again, the identity comes up in how it is that we are going to regulate our senses, regulate our environments, and just be overly cautious that our skin is very sensitive to the light. Our eyeballs are very sensitive to the light. We can actually feel the light from the sun like penetrating through our skin, like our internal organs are just screaming for the light. And just keep in mind that we are light force beings. Like we need the sun. Sun gives us life. Okay. Sun is fire. Fire gives us light. It gives us life. We are craving it. We've been in the darkness. We've been saturated with the over emotional state that we've been in through Pisces season. We want all the fire. We want all the light. So keep in mind, we're about to be very dehydrated. I want you to keep up on your fluids. You're going to be super thirsty, not only thirsty because, for fluids and water in your physical form, but our curiosity and for knowledge, for experience, for, new situations, new soul contracts. We're craving new. It's almost like we've been caged up for so long that now we're free. We just want to fly everywhere. And we're up there flying around and we don't even realize how long we've been up flying in the air. And suddenly we're just exhausted because we haven't come down for water. We haven't rested. We burn ourselves out. And then we have the potential to come crashing down. It's very important that we use our wings sparingly and that we fuel our body appropriately. Speaking of fueling our body appropriately, we are going to experience some extreme hunger, but we're also going to be forgetting to eat, to drink our fluids at appropriate times. Aries energy is very much in the extremes. So we could go all day being very active, being very productive and forget to eat. And then all of a sudden realize, oh my goodness, we forgot to eat or we forgot to drink or I haven't had a sip of water for like 12 hours. And then we indulge so greatly that our bodies slow down because, of course, our bodies aren't meant to process large amounts of food, large amounts of fluid at one time. And if you starve your body to the point where it is, eating away itself, and then you give it a bunch of fuel, you will feel the repercussions of that. So again, this is about monitoring. This is about management. This is about having the awareness and the discipline in order to actually take care of ourselves. So there is going to be some dysfunction in our bodies. I want you to pay attention to your lower back, especially where your kidneys are located. I want you to pay attention to your bladders. And many of us might come down with bladder infections. A lot of that is because, again, we're living in extremes. We are running on the dehydrated sense of things. And especially if you're not monitoring your energy and fueling your body appropriately, your bladder is going to let you know that, guess what? Something ain't right. We're not having fun here. The kidneys, again, if you go all day without hydrating yourself and then you try to drink a bunch of water in order to make up for it, your kidneys are going to swell. Your kidneys can't process that much fluid at one time, especially if you're making up for lost time because you forgot to drink and hydrate yourself throughout the day. So we want to pay attention to our bladders. We want to pay attention to our kidneys and that lower back pain. We want to pay attention to the fact that we are going to have some growing pains. I'm talking like shin splints. I had growing pains the other night that I haven't experienced since I was like in elementary school. And I remember I had awful growing pains in my legs. And I was reminded of that. And let me just remind you, like, we're still in Pisces season. There's still going to be an overlap. Pisces season was meant to reactivate old wounds, old pains, old injuries, to exasperate the problems that are still alive and well in your body in order for you to address them in a better way so that we can heal them from a different level of wisdom. And yeah, we're going to have those growing pains in our legs, those shin splints that are horrible, horrible, Charlie horses, knees and ankles cracking. And again, that is just because we just moved out of water where we've been treading water for a long time. We hit that sandy beach, that firm ground, and we just started running and we are just not stopping. And that is taking a toll on our physical bodies, especially on our legs. We have literally just lived through fear, through darkness, through pain, through suffering. That's where it gets trapped in our legs. And now we're like ready to run ourselves right off of our legs. We want to run past the fear, run through the pain. We want to just move through it. We want to get away from the things that have just been so hurtful and so painful and so damaging. And again, we take things to extremes in Aries season, and that can definitely have a negative aspect, a negative consequence to our physical bodies. Back to the senses for a second, we're going to get some very, very sharp, semi-disabling, piercing, and ringing in the ears. Now, many of us have a familiar relationship with these downloads because it is information coming in from the higher realms that we get downloaded with, but we just reached a new level of vibration frequency that we can't go down from. So it's almost like we just ended this old calendar. That's why we were blasted with the CMEs, the solar winds, and the solar flares the way that we were over this past week, because it's leveling us up to not be able to go back to a certain vibration frequency lower than the ones that we've already established. But now that we're moving into a new calendar, we're moving into a new season, we're moving into the next level of this video game that we're living here, it's almost like we get to start over. And we're receiving new insights, new downloads, new information from the cosmos, but it almost like takes us back to almost what it felt like when we first started getting them. Now, it's not going to last as long as it's been taking us to get to this awakening process, but sometimes, some moments, that ringing in the ears, that piercing siren sound in the ears will 100% debilitate you. You will not be able to hear the sounds in your environment. That's all that you will be able to hear. It can even influence your eyesight. And in those moments, you just want to breathe through it. You want to ground. You want to ask your guides, if there's any information that you should know. You want to pay attention to your thoughts, to the conversations that you were having, because that's all indicators on why that download came in at which time it did, because it's related somehow to what it is that you were doing in that moment. Whether consciously or unconsciously, it's time for you to start asking questions and being a little bit more accountable and responsible for identifying the information coming in to your body. I also want you to pay attention to, like we talked about, like the Aries energy is very focused on the head, on the jaw, on the teeth type of area. But we're going to have swollen, burning lips and likely eyelids too. But again, just reminder, we haven't seen this much light in a long time. We might even have some sores going on in our mouth. Just pay attention to the thin, mucosa that we have in our bodies. So the inner lining of your mouth, the inner lining of your nose, the sensitive parts in your yuha, okay? There's a lot of mucosa going on in our bodies, in our eyelids, the inner ears, right? Like just pay attention to that area of the body, because it's going to fester up. We, again, are receiving a lot of light. We're seeing the sun, the brightness from a new, fresh set of eyes, and it is going to have a direct physical effect on our bodies, to our new physical environment, but we're adapting to the new energies coming in, to the new frequencies coming in as well. And this is just how we know that we're on the right track, that we are growing, that we are evolving, that we are in 100% in alignment with the cosmos, with our soul's mission, with our soul's path. So guys, that's all that I have for you this week. I am definitely excited to move out of this old calendar, this old energy. Lord Jesus knows we absolutely need a shift in our lives. We need to be renewed in our mind, body, and soul. We need to have a little bit of life force energy back, for our spirits to come back again, for us to be excited about life and what it holds once again. So I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for your patience and understanding. I want to thank you for the love and support that you're constantly showing my way. But most of all, I want to thank you for doing the work, for showing up for yourself, for being the best version of yourself with the knowledge that you currently have, and for constantly pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself as you move further into your soul's path, into your soul's evolution. I'm sending you nothing but love, and Happy New Year.